So, welcome everyone to Carving a New Path. My name is Andrea Hyland. I'm the host of this show. I'm the founder of Heal My Voice and the incubator, an annual online co-working space for women creatives. And oh gosh, I had all these other things listed. You'll get to know me over time, so I'm not going to share anything else about that. But the link to my website is in the show page, along with all the social media links and website of my guest today, who is Sofia Wren. Hi, Sophia.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I'm so happy we're finally doing this. I want to introduce you to Sophia, and I also want to just share with the audience that my new book, Follow the Clues, was released in June. Let's see if I can get it up here so you can see it past my background. It is available on Amazon and there's Kindle and also paperback versions of the book. But something I want to just share as we're coming into this space and the first conversation that Sophia and I are going to have about the book is that there are going to be conversations over the next year in particular on how to navigate change and deepen a relationship with your intuition. And I wanted you all to meet Sophia because she is my writing coach. And first of all, I want to say a huge thank you. I don't even know if I would have finished the book without your support, but it certainly was more fun and made better progress and kept going during times when I wasn't sure if this was even something anyone would want to read. And thank you for helping me develop it. And I want to say, I work with people with writing. So, yes, a writing coach needs a writing coach. And that is for anything that you're doing. You know, we all need support and in different ways. And finding out what kind of support you need is part of the process. But I'd like to say that Sophia helps sensitive writers and entrepreneurs to make faster progress on the things that really matter for their book or business, and from helping your writing or marketing to flow to polishing it to a shine so you can share it, writing to be your own best friend. And that's a really important one. I just want to highlight. You might not think of that as needing support, but there's support for that. And to creating organizational systems, she helps you write to be of service so you can feel the love coming back to you. And I love,
Yeah.
yeah. So I know that one of the things I asked you of like, I think I was sending emails back and forth with, well, maybe we talk about this, maybe we talk about that, and all the different things. We are going to have more conversations over this next year in particular. So we'll come back to it. But one of the things I wanted to talk about today is slow, steady growth. So I'm going to pause here and just see if there's anything you want to say about anything else before we go into this topic.
Yeah. Well, thanks again for having me. And it was such an honor to be supporting your book. I mean, you've always been this wonderful writing coach, mentor person. So to be tagged in to help is very, like I said, it's an honor. And don't we all wish we could duplicate ourselves like when we have some heavy lifting we need to do, but unfortunately we don't have that ability. So sometimes we need to get the help of a friend. And so I'm happy to be that friend. And I'm glad that it was funner because it was a joy to read your book. And I'm excited that everybody can come and get it now and follow the clues because there's so many decades of wisdom in there. Um, and yeah, I just always saw how valuable those insights were. And especially for somebody who is in a moment of indecision, uncertainty, not knowing which path to take. I've been through many of those moments, and many of those moments I even called you up, so I was able to get your help through that. So it's great that that is now in book form for somebody who maybe needs some help pondering out what to do next. So glad that that's up.
Yeah, and as we were talking a little earlier, it's like this is a time of uncertainty with so much change that's happening in the world. Also, we
Yeah.
can look at what is happening in our individual life. We can look at what is happening in the world, systems that are changing. And I know at some point I'll be talking, doing some kind of personal diary out there about things that have come up. But part of that is I need to follow the clues. And even when you know that you can follow how to follow the clues, I need a reminder. That's why the book I keep with me at all times. This is like, thank you, a place
Yeah.
where I could put things that I need to remember and continue to practice, because,
Yeah, and now you can just like flip through it and be like, oh yeah, that's a good thing. I'll do that. You
right.
don't have to keep it all in your brain. It's now something else.
Yeah. And sometimes we write the book because we
We need
need
it.
we need to have access
Absolutely.
to information, brought it all
I think
together.
you said that once about because if anyone didn't know, you've done so many anthologies with writers who have come together to put their voices together and into book form. And everyone takes a chapter. And I remember you saying to me, like, oh, those stories that you share, they can be like a recipe for
Mhm.
you to follow later on. And so
Yeah.
there you go. You wrote your recipe out. Whole
Yeah.
cookbook.
That's so interesting because we hadn't talked about talking about this, but that just reminds me when I did a study guide for each of or for 8 of the books for Heal My Voice. And it was at a time where I was rereading stories and I knew things that were going on in people's lives. And I would be like, I'd send them an email. You might want to go back and read your story. Like the thing that's happening right now, the wisdom is in your story. So it is true. We
Yeah.
for ourselves first, and then we also are writing to communicate to other people and share our experiences. But yeah, that's another reason to write, whether it's in a
Yeah.
journal or um, on a blog or in a book. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think for those of us who do a lot of journaling, and I know that you also do a lot of journaling and, regular writing about your thoughts, feelings, experiences, your day, what's going on. If you've been doing it a while, then you have the very humbling experience of seeing yourself learn and relearn and forget and relearn the same thing.
Mhm.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you
And
see it in black and white.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and actually, I was thinking maybe we wouldn't even get to slow, steady growth, but I feel like this is actually what it is because I was writing something in the newsletter about the first issue that I sent out to deepen the roots of this book was slow, steady growth, and that life is not a linear process. It is circular. It is a spiral. And just to your point, that when we write in our journal and then we go back and we read our journal 5 years later, or well, maybe 5 minutes later, but definitely with some time passing and feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm not making progress. It's the same thing I was doing then. It's like, but yeah, but what did you learn during that
Hmm.
cycle? Okay, here it is again. Maybe the issue is that you don't always value who you are. And you're like, didn't I get that lesson before? And haven't I processed it? And it's like, take another look at it. Maybe there's a way to increase how you value yourself even more. Maybe there were things you didn't even know about yourself 5, 10 years ago. And now you're in this spiral where you get a chance to look at it again. And that's why
Yeah.
slow, steady growth, learning over time, helps you to really deepen your connection to yourself, to grow to another level. Yeah, anything that you want to say about that?
Yeah, and like the theme of self-compassion is coming to mind, to like just see this like first off, it's so human. I mean, it's just this is just being a human being, is that we're all going to take time, the time we need.
Mhm.
to learn what we learn. And Rome wasn't built in a day. And the harder something is, the longer it takes a lot of times. So especially when you're talking about things that are like ingrained patterns and stuff like that, like it's just not gonna get, or things that are kind of taught to you from your environment, like your culture, your family, it's gonna take a long time. But like you said, I think of it as like a spiral, but like a corkscrew. It's like a 3D. So
Mhm.
you might kind of, if you were above like an eagle looking down, it might look like you're in the same part of the spiral that you always were, but really you're like spiraling up, you're on like a different level of it. So you're coming at it from a different angle. And sometimes it just takes a lot of those angles before everything clicks into place for whatever the next step is. And yeah, and just accepting, coming back to that self-compassion, self-acceptance, that like it's okay to be making whatever you might think of as a mistake, or learning whatever is the lesson, in your mind. It's okay to still be in that learning process, because really life is just all about learning. If the only time you're not going to be learning anymore is when you're dead. So it's just part of being alive and being a human being, and you're not doing anything wrong. It's just life is complicated. And if you're paying attention, then that's a win. So,
I love the image of the corkscrew, and it's funny, the spiral that I'm usually referring to came from a Barbara Marx Hubbard book where she talked about conscious evolution and the spiral and going up. But what I love about the corkscrew is that in essence, the corkscrew, when you get to that point again where it's like, oh, I'm here to learn self-compassion again, that,
mhm.
which is how it feels sometimes. It's like, oh, I'm here again. I can't believe I, you know, and the more we do it, the more compassion we can have for ourselves. But the corkscrew means you're going down again into something, and then you come
Yeah.
back up with the learning. But that ability to also go back down into that exploration.
Mm.
I actually had some
Interesting.
I had something happen. I think it was about a week after the book was released, where I was driving one day and I was thinking about a song that I sang. I went through this process where I was getting rid of everything in my 11-room house except for what could go in a 10 by 10 storage unit. And it's like my husband had died. It had been a few years. My youngest daughter and I decided we were going to move from Maryland to California, and we had a house full of stuff. So for about 5 months, I went through everything in that house, made decisions, sold it, gave it away, donated it, um, and to get myself moving every morning because of the amount of emotion that was there. And I only had like an hour or two every day to spend on it because I was still
Wow.
schooling my daughter and working part-time and other things. So
That's
like
a lot to do.
we played John Denver's song Looking for Space. And it's like on the road of experience, I'm trying to find my way. And I would sing that song, I'd play it and I'd sing it, and I would sob.
Mm.
And then I would play Jason Mraz singing Make It Mine. Wake up, everyone. How can you sleep at a time like this unless the dreamer is the real you? And I would just be like, okay, I am now pumped up. I'm going to spend an hour in this room going through things. It's like put that massage table on Craigslist and sell it and whatever. So I would do that.
Wow.
But about a week after, and this was back in 2009, but about a week after my book came out, I remembered singing those songs. And I just started like singing it, and just like the tears started coming. And then there was this point where I thought, oh my gosh, I have so much love for that part of me. Like the courage that it took to do that,
Yeah.
and who I
Superwoman.
am and who I have grown into since that time period. Like
Mm.
I didn't know I could mentor women writing stories. I started Heal My Voice like a year and a half after that. My life took this big sleep, but I just started to like the book is out and understand, audience, for anyone who doesn't know me, this is my 20th book. Like I am
Yeah.
part of or written all of or something in 19 other books. This is my
Mhm.
20th book. So I am not new to writing or putting my words out into the world. But this one felt like a culmination of
Yeah.
all of those. And so there was just this moment of like having so much compassion. And I had someone out of the blue ask me a few weeks ago, when I look back, it was a man who's starting to journal. And he's probably in his 50s and he's just starting to journal and he's starting to figure out how to journal and what is this thing called journaling. And he said, when you read things that you wrote years ago, what do you think of yourself? And I said, the first thing I said is, I have so much compassion for myself. Like knowing that's what I knew at that time. And I wish I could go back and say a few things, a few words of comfort to myself at that point, or let myself know it was going to be, it was going to be okay.
Mm.
But I don't judge who I was then. It's like that's all I knew about myself. And I feel like that does come back to this whole slow, steady growth that you and I both wrote about in the book. You wrote in the foreword about being at a crossroads and knowing that there was a decision to make. And I wrote about a time when I took my daughters to a library sleepover. They were really little, and I thought, well, let's sleep in the self-help section so I can just infuse myself with all that wisdom while we sleep here. And then, boom, life is like, I've got it all together. And it's like, no, it doesn't work that way. And you probably fry your body system if life changed that quickly anyway. Yeah. Any thoughts about any of
Yeah, I feel like it's almost like you know vellum. Vellum is a kind of paper that's sort of see-through, but it
Yep.
also has a little bit of color, like so it's a little bit white, a little bit not see-through. It's a little see-through and a little not see-through. So it's kind of like a misty day, but it's a piece of paper. And
Hmm.
if you stack a whole bunch of them together, then you get a plain white piece of paper, is what it looks like.
Hmm.
But just one, and it's kind of see-through, and you can see stuff under it, like a map or a blueprint or something. So I kind of feel like you had said something like something about like thanking that past version, or if I could, I don't know if you said it or if I just heard it. If you could say something kind to that part of you in the past or something like that. I feel like maybe you are, and maybe you did, and maybe you felt it in the past. And I think we have this ability to kind of tap into our future self. And that maybe that is what a little piece of what gave you strength is that you sensed the possibilities ahead. You sensed the
Yeah.
bend that was coming and you didn't know what it was going to look like on the other side, but you knew that these actions were going to set up some kind of domino effect that would allow your head to come above water and that it was necessary to do that Herculean thing because change was coming and the alternative was just too much to bear. You weren't going to be able to deal with not changing. So, and I think that for many of us, that's what it is that like whether it's a slow and steady thing or something that has to happen kind of all at once, like sometimes we have those moments where like it's just too much to bear. Yes, doing what we've been doing. And even though change is scary or difficult or emotionally like so hard, or physically so hard, no one wants to move house. It's just necessary. And then through that process, we get to become our future self. But maybe that future self is kind of whispering the whole time. And I know that that's something that, especially in the last few years, when my dad passed away. He was like the main parent I had growing up. I didn't have any other parent. Um, when he passed away, it was so devastating that to get myself looking forward, I really would think about future me and the future of the world that I wanted to contribute to, what energy I wanted to tap into as my contribution and what self I wanted to step into. Because I knew change was the only way I was gonna find my joy. So I think that we have that ability to kind of hear the whispers of that future self and then inversely kind of know that maybe we were one step in the past, like maybe we were kind of like the ghost, the angel on the shoulder or something. I don't know, it's a nice idea.
I love it and I feel it. I mean, if we could get into even the esoteric beliefs that all time is happening at the same time, and there's
Yeah.
just been like this this container so that we can actually experience it and not just be done with it, and
Yeah.
there are times where I want to know what's coming next. I mean, I really do like the rapids of life. I like it when things are flowing and learning to be with the stillness of it and tap into all the different parts of yourself, the ones that you are very familiar with at this time in your life, the ones who are here in, we could call it another dimension or another, it's all here. It's all here. And yeah, I love that. And
I thought you would vibe with it. You're that
I
kind of expansive person with, one arm and the different different
yeah,
and different angles of it.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we could go down so many different things. There's actually I'll even talk I'll just mention something. I was listening to Pam Gregory the other day, who's an astrologer, and she was talking about one of the things to think of with manifestation is that it to see it as a memory that's already happened. So something
Mm,
you are looking forward to, it's like, well, it's already a memory that's already happened. So if you focus on the memory, it helps to show you what the next steps are
hmm.
to be in that space. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
simple description of it. Um,
Yeah.
and the other thing, although I know not all the listeners are into astrology, but I want to just use the planets and astrology as an example of this slow, steady growth idea. So, right now in July 2026, the planet Uranus is in an astrology sign called Gemini. So Uranus is in Gemini, the star system. And Uranus, one of the qualities is that it's sudden change. And Uranus is a slow moving planet.
Mm,
So it may be that you got the aha. Here it is. Here's the idea. Here's the innovation. Here's the new idea. And it's a slow moving planet. So it isn't
mhm.
about, I've got the idea, instantaneous result. It's, I've got the idea. Now I'm going to sit with it, see what's next. Now I'm going to maybe write it down somewhere so that I remember that aha of an idea. Now I'm going to give it space to rearrange and come into some kind of a form. Maybe I'll move the pieces around, see what it comes into. But Uranus is in Gemini for 7 years. And so
Mm,
I'm not going to
wow.
switch to the next thing. It's going to be in this space. And to me, it's symbolic to understand that there are times where there's a sudden idea, a sudden desire, and then you be with what that is to see what the steps and the unfoldment.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I was going to time us for like 30 minutes. I'm not really sure. So, sure how long this is right now because I didn't, what time we actually started. But yeah, is there anything else that you want to speak of today with this topic or writing or anything? And
Yeah, so okay, so we're talking, so we've been kind of talking about a lot of things, but one of our things has been the slow and steady growth. And then you're talking about, having an idea, but then taking a long time at this, with it as well. And it makes me think of when I got an aha moment to go to Japan, which is a big life change. And it felt like I had been kind of wondering about it for a month or so, like what I was going to do next in my life, because I was in the process of a breakup and wondering what my next step would be after 7 years with someone. And I I thought it would be something that would kind of wrap up quickly because there was an opportunity to apply for a position in Japan, and I thought I would get it, but I didn't. So I had to apply for something else, and then all in all, it took around 2 years for me to go to Japan in the end. And through that, I think I lived in, you know, I don't know. I think it was like 10 places I lived in 5 years or something like that. Like it was a lot of moves, a lot of shedding possessions, a lot of wrapping up paperwork, old taxes, and yeah, buying things, giving things away. Like there were a lot of emotional changes I went through and a lot of self-knowledge, a lot of creativity, a lot of things. And so it was really quite a big transition. And then by the time I did make that life change where I was in Japan, that's a big change, but it took a long time for that to happen, And as a result of that, I ended up meeting my husband, and now we have a little baby. So, who's in the other room playing with my babysitter. So we've got this whole big thing that happened. And the flash to get it did kind of happen pretty quick in a month or two. But then, yeah, the couple years to get to Japan, and then I was in Japan, and then I was meeting my husband, and then a couple of years later, you end up having a kid. So it was a whole process, and definitely grateful that happened. But I will just say that, like, in terms of like slow and steady, I also want to say a little bit thing about writing because I think writing is such an amazing tool. And also, it is such a great thing to have patience with it because I think, I'm sure you've seen this too, where there's a lot of writing coaches, people out there who like to set goals for writing, like, I don't know, in 2 months I'm going to be done my first draft of my book. And there's nothing wrong with that, if you hire someone who's going to help you with that or something like that. But something I've noticed with the kind of person that I am when I'm helping people write is if they're like, actually, this isn't done, or I've noticed there's some other thing I need to do first, or um, I don't like the direction of this. I'm gonna change my direction completely. I'm like, okay, sounds like you're pretty clear on what's going on, or like something came up with your kid being sick, and so you couldn't write this week. That's just life sometimes, and there's no need to make it wrong um, because it's so much better to just like be with the process in my mind rather than put our kind of first idea of a timeline on it so hard that like it hurts, like I do want it to be fun, and I also love that the creative process kind of has its own mind, and it can be really fun to kind of discover it, not just try to control it. What do you think about that?
yeah, no, I'm so glad that you brought that up. And first of all, I have mentioned that I've published a lot of books. So it's like I know how to get something done and
Yeah.
no problem with goal setting and all of that and when it works and when it doesn't. But this book started with a series of blogs in 2007 that I didn't even know would eventually become a blog. And it was workshops, it was other things. So you can't always just say, "Oh, I have this idea for a book. I'm going to get it done in a couple of months." And again, there's different situations. Maybe you've been teaching a program for years and years and years. You've already sussed it all out. Maybe there's ways that you could do something faster than this. But when I was finally ready to really write my book and or got the instinct at the end of 2023 that I thought I would do it in 6 months, and it took 2.5 years. And the first 6 months, I realized I needed support. So then
Mm.
it was like, then I hired you to help me, and I would set goals, but then I would let you know if I couldn't reach the goal, that it was, so I think sometimes it's good to have something to point your arrow towards.
Sure.
If you're a person who functions that way, which I do, and for someone else, it might be you're going to have open space and you're going to just give yourself some kind of space. So something about creating some structure for yourself and getting support.
And
But
be willing to like forgive yourself if like the structure needs to change. Because the only thing you don't want to do is you don't want to be so like upset that you didn't reach the goal. And like if you have a goal for to write 3 days a week, you don't want to get to the end of the week and say, oh, I didn't write at all, or I only wrote one day. And now I feel bad about myself. And it seems like why even bother trying this week? Or, they just have a negative vibe about it now
Mhm.
that it's only, you know what I mean? It just seems sort of unnecessary. Because sometimes I do have clients like that, and I wish I could kind of blow the cobwebs off of them, but it's an inside job, and
Yeah.
um, you can get support, but then there is that last little bit you have to do on your own. And so, like being upset at your lack of progress, nobody else can uncork that for you. At the end of the day, you have to be able to loosen that rigidity around I set a goal, I didn't make it, like that's bad. You gotta have to be able to if you're gonna set goals for yourself, you have to be able to like let them go when necessary. Otherwise, it'll just get you caught up so much that you're then gonna not make as much progress as you would have without it. And we don't want that. So
Yeah.
as long as it's something good to
You're going
help
to give,
you.
yeah. And I think people give up because they think, "Oh, I didn't meet my,"
Yes.
and
Yes.
that's wrong. But when I think
Yeah.
about, it's funny, I was just thinking about there's a practice in the book where I talk about find the yes, find the yes. And that came from being with one of my grandkids outside and realizing how many times I was saying no to him and thinking and reflecting on how, oh, I could get caught up in saying no to myself about a lot of things too. And so playing that game. But that came during a time where I hadn't finished, like once again, I think I set 4 or 5 completion date goals. Oh, I think my book will be out by this time and I'll launch it, and be like, okay, well, no, actually, there were other things happening in life and I've been writing. But actually, I've decided to rewrite this whole section that, even when you set a goal, you'll be like, this is not turning out the way I actually need to go back in and do this in a different way. It's not coming together. But there was kind of a pause there where I was being with the book, kind of waiting to see what direction to go in, meeting with you once a month, looking at that, you reading stuff, giving me some feedback. And then that practice popped in. And it was like, okay, so those pauses are meaningful also. I think the biggest thing is figuring out what helps you stay connected to if you want to write a book, what helps you stay connected to that desire, and
Yeah.
working with your coach on And really do not hire a coach who is so goal oriented that the goal of completion is more important than the process. That's how I would describe what you're saying is to me
Yeah.
writing, whether it is to get to know yourself better through journaling, whether it's to heal something, whether it's to write a book, it's the process that's happening. And you can only set goals that help you keep moving forward with it, but not get attached to the day it will be completed. I mean,
Yeah, right. And go with the process.
I'm so happy that my book came out in June 2026. I'm so happy it came out now and not a year ago. Now was the time. My whole body is happy that this is the time
Yay.
here. So trusting that too.
Yeah. Yeah. No, totally. And I think a good coach too will um be looking for successes, helping you to see the successes no matter what is going on. Even if you didn't make that one goal, what else was learned? What else was tried? What else was, a success? And to draw your attention to that, because then you're going to be feeling good. And then you're going to be in that elevated space to make the next decision and to look at it from that grounded place. It's going to be a better frame of mind than to be like in the negative space. And you
Yeah.
can still be critical and you can still notice areas of improvement,
Mhm.
but it doesn't work to just look at areas of improvement alone.
Right. Yeah. You want it to be the, yeah, part of the process is understanding what you want to express. And sometimes that changes during the
It
process.
should. Yeah, it should, because you're doing a lot of thinking and a lot of writing and you're learning and you're
Hmm.
taking it to the next level, not just a one-on-one level,
Hmm.
you know. You're like putting hours in and you're taking it to the doctorate level,
Yeah.
and that's going to be so much more richer. So you probably will discover things that you never could have imagined on day one of your project.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And who you are becoming in the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a spidey sense that we probably should be on the wrapping up size, not urgent, but
I'm going to say, let people know first of all, I want to say to everyone, there will be links in the show page here that have ways to connect with Sophia, ways to connect with me. What would you like to shine a light on in terms of the way that you're working with people now or something that's available to to do?
yeah. Yeah, so there's a number of different things that I've helped with. So what's coming to mind right now as the nearest and dearest thing to my heart is that I really do love coaching people on their writing. Like we mentioned, I helped you with your book. And so if somebody does have like a project like that, a book or a blog or things they want to email out, I'd love to help them with that, but I also just want to let people know that you don't need to have something like that to get writing support. That I also offer support on projects that aren't written yet, like there is not a draft yet to edit. You're in the process of writing it. Happy to help with that part. And also sometimes people are just more writing for their soul or they're writing to explore um, parts of their life, or they're just getting into journaling and their goal is really more personal and they want to get to know themselves better or heal using writing or just get into the practice of writing because it's something that it feels like their soul is crying out for that. And I call that writing to be your best friend is just sort of my general blanket term. Because like with me, we're trying to get you into that headspace of, seeing the good things in yourself and seeing how cool you are as a person, just like your best friend would, like what if your best friend was always there 100% of the time to cheer you on and to applaud things you're doing well and the things you're doing right. Sometimes we only really think about or hear about the things we're doing wrong, and our mind lingers on that. But we have this resource of called writing where we can draw our attention to the whole package. And yes, address those areas for further improvement, but do it from that grounded place of appreciation for what we do right. And I think that that needs a lot more attention sometimes. Um, and especially for some reason with writing, a lot of times people can be super critical of their writing. So much so that it's hard to even write at all or really hard to share with anyone. So if you want to just have a safe space where you can talk about your writing or you can share or you can talk about why it's not coming very easily to you, um, whether you decide to share any of that to anyone else later, you can share it with me in a private space, and you don't even need to get on the phone live with me. I do a lot of coaching where we just send it to each other virtually. If we don't have time to get on the phone, we can just you can send it to me and I'll read it and I'll leave you voice notes, loving voice notes, very loving. And I'm not coming at you with a red pen necessarily. We don't have to do that. We can take it a whole nother direction. So if that's something you want to explore, reach out to me. We can talk more about it. And we can work on, yeah, writing to be your best friend.
I love that. And obviously, I highly recommend working with Sophia. And there's information in the show page also about the annual incubator that's coming up too, that I have every year to help women move forward on projects.
Yeah, which is a great space as well.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you. Thank you for this opening and being here to talk together and weave some philosophy and experience and writing tips and all of that. And thank you to the listeners for celebrating and being here also. And I look forward to more conversations, Sophia.
Sounds good. Thank you, Andrea, and thanks everybody watching.
Thanks everyone for being here. Mwah.